Welcome to the race show, loads of action from the weekend, so let's start with the Val di Sole World Cup downhill. Rain played havoc with the qualifiers at one of the steepest and most technical tracks on the World Cup circuit, which meant that many top riders actually failed to qualify, like Mick Hanna, Ed Masters and Wim Masters. And young Hugo Frixtalon, a lesser known rider, actually qualified in third in the men's race. Aaron Gwins also re-injured the thumb he was already nursing. When race time came around, the scorching hot weather had dried the course out and it was actually back to normal business. The women's race was tight at the top, with Rachel Atherton putting down a stormer that was just beaten by a tenth of a second by young Tahnee Seagrave. The fastest qualifier, Monica Hartschnick, actually came third, the best finish of her career. Unfortunately, Myriam Nicole actually crashed in the qualifier, so did not start the main race. Rachel Atherton still leads the overall, with Tahnee Seagrave second place and Myriam Nicole still in third. Frenchman Thomas Estac put in a good early run on his Commensal to take a long sit in the hot seat. Crashes from Loic Bruni and Loris Vergier left him sit there comfortably for a little bit longer. Laurie Greenland put in a super exciting run to take the lead, reminding us of his race here just a few years ago at the World Champs. Danny Hart couldn't quite beat Laurie's time with a smooth and fast looking run. It was left to the last man on the hill, Amaury Pierron, to back up his previous 2 consecutive wins with another. An incredible run for Pierron, who had not won a World Cup previously. He now has 3 in a row and another chance next weekend in Andorra. It was left to the last man on the hill, Amaury Pierron, to back up his previous 2 consecutive wins with another. An incredible run for Pierron, who had not won a World Cup previously. He now has 3 in a row and another great chance this coming weekend at another technical track and home to his Commensal team, Andorra. Lucas Shaw finished 4th and Thomas Estac 5th. Gwyn could only manage 31st, which was a great ride with his injury, but he's in question for being able to ride this weekend. Pierron goes further into the overall lead and looks very strong, with over a full race points lead to Laurie Greenland, who jumped up to 2nd, Brosnan 3rd, Gwyn dropping to 4th and Hart in 5th. Now to the cross country, again from Val di Sole. It was a fast weekend of racing in the XC, with a blistering tempo set by Dutch road race champion Mathieu van der Poel on Friday's short track to take the win ahead of Nino Schurter. But it was not to be in Sunday's XCO race of Van der Poel, as Schurter set an early pace and broke away alone in the second lap, maintaining a fierce pace which eventually fractured the chase group, with an impressive ride for young Italian Kirchbaumer, who managed to bridge across to Schurter on the penultimate lap. It looked set for a 2-man sprint, but on the final descent to the line, Schurter opened a gap on the technical sections and never looked back. Van der Poel hung on to take 3rd and boost himself up the series standings, whilst the rest of the podium was completed by Henrik Avancini and Florian Vogel. In the women's short track, World Cup leader Anneke Langvad took another dominant victory, although she would eventually crash out of the main event on Sunday with an injured wrist. World champion Jolanda Neff put in some incredible attacks to break up the field and create an elite group of Emily Batty, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot and Maya Wojlowska. They traded blows for several laps before an impressive Wojlowska managed to make an attack stick and took a fantastic solo victory and her first World Cup win since 2012. Batty took 2nd, several seconds ahead of Neff, with Pauline Ferrand-Prévot and stalwart of the sport Gumri Adale rounding out the podium. At 45 years old, Gumri Adale is the oldest woman ever and probably the oldest person ever to stand on a World Cup podium. Next weekend sees the round return to Andorra, and we're looking forward to seeing how the altitude affects the racers. In previous years they've gone there early to acclimatise, not possible this year. The Big White Invitational Slopestyle happened this weekend in Kelowna, Canada. Newly appointed Monster Energy athlete Tom van Steenbergen took the opportunity as host to announce his new big sponsor. The course, which was designed by Van Steenbergen, has 7 trickable features and featured a good amount of woodwork from whale tails to boner logs. 30 riders were on the start list, including David Lieb, the winner of Thursday's bronze event, which granted an invite to the weekend's gold. Lieb pushed his limits to the max, unfortunately crashing a few times attempting a flat drop front flip. Finishing 11th in a gold event amongst a lot of great riders is a hell of an achievement regardless. Van Steenbergen would finish the day in 6th spot with some solid runs. Tom Eistead of Great Britain crashed in his first run, injuring his ankle. But somehow, regardless of that, he managed to put together a strong run with a second attempt, a 79.3 with a few injuries. Top work, Tom. Carsten Storch came away in 4th with a strong 80 points from his first run. He was looking to improve on his second, but unfortunately crashed out, hitting eject a good few metres up in the air. Luckily though, no injuries for Carson, and he'll live to fight another day. Anthony Mazzeri, another Canadian slopestyle prodigy who's known for his amplitude, got on very well with the course, grabbing third spot. Torquato Testa secured second on his first run, but once again it was all about Nikolai Rogatkin. 92.3 on his first run meant that he was virtually untouchable by the rest of the field. He's on a huge confidence high and it's shown his riding with 3 wins at the last 3 Gold FMB events he's attended. Not one to cruise for the crowds, even his casual victory run included a cash roll and his signature twister. So a pretty mad event all in all. Can Rogatkin keep this form until Whistler Joyride in August and be the first ever winner of the Crankworx Triple Crown? Time will tell. The latest round of the UCI Marathon Series took place on Saturday between the alpine towns of Combloux and Megève, over a tough 140 kilometres course with 7,000 vertical metres of climbing through the stunning mountain passes of the Portes de Mont Blanc region. This race is billed as the hardest cross-country race in the world. Only one rider finished in a 2010 edition. This year, Urs Huber won the elite men's race, whilst Florence Darbelet took the victory in the women's. Both victors took home a pair of skis as their podium prizes, but we think they'll probably be too tired to go skiing anytime soon. Plus, it's summertime. This is the first ever MMR Asturias Bike Race in history. More than 400 participants have a total of 180 kilometres and 6,000 metres of climbing in 3 days of competition. The 3 days are marked by the intensity of their trails, the beauty of the landscape and the demand of the routes, and a guest, the mud, which made it an even bigger test. In the third and last stage, Victor Manuel Fernandez and Monica Carrascosa have stood out. Fernandez because despite having crossed the finish line in second place behind David Ovin of Tandem Oviedo Alvamenco, has managed to accumulate enough during the previous 2 days and has taken the win in elite men. The Cordovan rider said, "The terrain, the track and the landscape have surprised me a lot. The route has been spectacular since the first day. In some sections we found a lot of mud, but it was a very wonderful test with very hard climbs but also very well compensated." His mind is now set on the Spanish Championship XCO in just a few weeks. In second place was David Ovin, third went to Pedro Romero. As far as the elite women category is concerned, there have been no surprises. After 2 victories in 3 stages, Monica Carrascosa has taken the overall race win. She commented, "Today I was very clear that I was going to maintain the mechanics of the bike. I did want any error that would lead me not to finish the stage." Diana Fernandez from the Sports Cycle team won the final stage. Second overall for the race was Marta Torra, and in third, Diana Fernandez. Loads of great racing this weekend, and here are some of the best of the rest. Loads of great racing this week on the race show. If you want to see me challenge myself to 100 miles, click over there for that one on my summer solstice ride. Give us a thumbs up if you like watching mountain bike races and hit that subscribe button.